Thank you. We now welcome to the stage our second keynote speaker, Colonel Mark R. Baaden. Colonel Baaden received his commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Army from Fordham University's Army ROTC in 1994, while earning a bachelor's degree in history. During Colonel Baaden's career, he supported the nation's efforts on 5 major deployments: 2 Operation Iraqi Freedom Tours, 2003 and 2007, New Orleans, Louisiana in support of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in 2011, and Combined Joint Task Force, Horn of Africa, 2016. His awards include 4 Bronze Star medals. I welcome to the stage now, Colonel Baaden.
It is a great honor, as a Hudson Valley veteran, to have been asked to share in this dedication for Captain William D. Meara Jr. I would like to acknowledge the efforts of Jerry Haight, Charlie McKenna, Andy Ensley, and Franklin Mears, who have been instrumental in making this day happen. They, along with the support of our Hudson Valley Veteran Service organizations, remind us to never forget the sacrifices that has been made for us as Americans that continue to live in our security and freedom. As honored as I am to talk to you tonight about military service and sacrifice, I am humbled to be in the presence of the Meara family. Joining us tonight, of course, is Dr. Margaret Meara, Peggy, the Gold Star widow of Captain Meara, as well as other numerous family members and close friends. Peggy, ma'am, I was born 4 years after your husband gave his life for our country. However, it is your husband and numerous other men and women that have courageously served that has inspired my generation and I to continue to defend and preserve our country and everything that your husband stood for. I hope that in some small way that brings you comfort in knowing that the example and spirit of your husband still exists in my generation of veterans. We thank you and Captain Meara for the responsibility that has been passed on to us. For those of us still in uniform, we will not fail in our duties, nor forget our history. Since we are in an academic environment, I feel it appropriate to briefly cover the history of Veterans Day. And it was mentioned earlier. 99 years ago, in the 11th month, on the 11th day, at the 11th hour, the guns stopped firing in Europe as an armistice was reached with the surrender of Germany in the Great War, what we now call World War I. In Europe and Canada, November 11th is referred to as Remembrance Day. It is more akin to our Memorial Day, where we honor our fallen. For Americans, we represent November 11th as a day to honor not only those killed in battle, but all of those who have served in uniform. I would like to personalize that connection that most of us have to those that serve in uniform. You may have heard that less than 1% of our population currently serves in uniform. That is statistically true. However, many of us have a member or friend that has worn the uniform of our country. Your very presence here tonight is a demonstration of your commitment to honor and appreciate the service and sacrifice that our military has done for us. This is a hand-raising exercise. It's the last one. May I ask those who have not worn a military uniform, but have had a close friend or family member wear one, to please raise their hand. Thank you. That's quite a number. Our connections to military service is a significant factor in our lives. Our fathers, our mothers, brothers, sisters, friends, and even some of our very own children have served for us. Thus, ladies and gentlemen, I can speak for my fellow veterans here tonight that as much as you appreciate what we have done in uniform, we appreciate what you have done for us. You have endured the worries and concerns for your families, for your veterans' safety. You have held the families together while being absent your veteran. Your encouragement, your strength, your dignity is what kept us moving forward in the most difficult challenges associated with any tough duty that we ever had. You are what home is to a veteran. You are the America we love and will die for when necessary. With that, I would like my fellow veterans to join me in applauding our greatest supporters. Thank you. I didn't want you to go unnoticed. Now let's discuss what a veteran is. He or she is a person of service. They typically are young when first entering the military. They are from all parts of the country. They are from all races, all creeds. They are from all income classes. Whether they volunteered or they were drafted in a time of war, they learn skills associated with their duty. They receive training and education. But mostly they become part of a team. Some do a short stint of service, and some make it a career. My fellow veterans and I call them lifers. I'm a lifer. We have a rank system in the military, and based on the length of time, training, military education, and experience that one pursues determines the rank that they have attained. However, the great equalizer in our rank system is combat. That's where courage and leadership is witnessed. It transcends all ranks and is encouraged to be demonstrated by all. It can be trained for with a high degree of realism. One reason that our military is the best in the world is because of our training. The saying that sweat more in training means you may bleed less in combat is a very true expression. However, combat is something a veteran never forgets. They remember the fear that they may have felt and how they overcame it. They remember the courage they witnessed. Ironically, these people don't think their own actions were courageous, but more doing what needed to be done for the team. They remember the leadership they had. Often they remember that leadership fondly, and it was reassuring, sometimes life-saving for them and their buddies. Such a leader that demonstrated exceptional courage and leadership was Captain Meara. In 1968, he was a company commander in one of the most decorated units in U.S. history, the 7th Cavalry of the 1st Cavalry Division. The motto of the unit was Garryowen. For music fans, you hear that tune every St. Patrick's Day, as the song is a popular Irish quick-step dance. Here is a sample of the lyrics. Our hearts so stout have got us fame, for soon 'tis known from whence we came. Where we go, they dread the name of Garryowen in glory. With a song like that representing one of the finest units to have ever fought in battle, it makes it easier to understand the pride and affection that Captain Meara would have had for his men. On November 2nd, 1968, Captain Meara was nearing the completion of his mission to search for North Vietnamese Army forces in the vicinity of Landing Zone Billy. He was taking his men back to the relative safety of their base for a well-earned rest. Then one of his platoons came under a vicious attack and was completely cut off from Captain Meara and the main force. Captain Meara had a choice to make. Leave those men and not risk anybody trying to rescue them, or fight and risk everything to save even just a few of them. I'm certain that it was not a question that he dwelled on too long, given the kind of man we've heard about. He was going to save those men, even if it meant his own death. Captain Meara rallied and encouraged his men. Captain Meara led when leadership was most needed. He positioned the remainder of his company to suppress the enemy and draw fire away from his surrounded and trapped platoon. Then he did something he could have ordered one of his men to do. He and his point man went forward. They assaulted bunkers, machine gun positions, and advanced against incredible odds into a defense that perhaps dozens of men attempting the same would fail at. it is very safe to assume that the enemy had to be stunned, that they were losing at this point, given that they had a foolproof plan to lie in wait in fortified positions to ambush Captain Meara's tired men who were returning to their base. When Captain Meara's brave point man fell, he was alone. He didn't run away. He didn't try to surrender. He knew the only way out of danger was to punch his way through it to reach his cut-off men. The more he persisted and had the focus and enemy fire on him was that many more precious seconds that his men would live and be able to turn what would have been a defeat into victory. Captain Meara was mortally wounded. His drive to save his men was what was propelling him forward through withering fire until his mission ended. To put Captain Meara's efforts in context, we need to think about the legacy he has left. For my non-military friends, a rifle platoon is roughly 30 to 40 men. That's the size of the element Captain Meara was saving from slaughter that day. I do have a rhetorical question we could all ponder this Veterans Day. How many of those men have since become husbands and fathers? How many of those men have become grandfathers? I'll bet most of them, if not all. Captain Meara saved 30 to 40 men and gave up every day after he could have had it since November 2nd, 1968, so that potentially hundreds of Americans can even exist today. There is a popular quote taken from Jewish scripture that states, "He who saves a single life saves the world." Captain Meara's sacrifice hurts, but it undoubtedly made the world a better place. Captain Meara was a proud son of the Hudson Valley and a distinguished graduate of this institution. Captain Meara belongs to us and is a source of pride, and his monument should make us stand up a little taller and ask ourselves, what more can I do to improve myself and others? Our young people that now can stop and look upon his plaque should not simply think of him as a man who died in a war that they didn't live through, but instead as a man who lived his life with honor, courage, and love for his family and friends. That, ladies and gentlemen, is timeless. Captain Meara reminds us whether we leave this world as a young man on a faraway battlefield or as a 100-year-old person that dies in our own beds, we should also aim to be a person of courage, love, and selfless service that inspires those around us. With that, I would like to thank our veterans again, their friends and families, the Meara family, and most importantly, I would like to thank Captain William D. Meara Jr., Infantry, United States Army, Garryowen.